Hello, I'm VinzerFlinn, and welcome back to the Book of Flinn, where we are broadcasting once again from the 6th layer of Hoth Ice Hell, and snowed in with me, so she has to do this podcast, is Reigna Flinn.
SOS, everyone. I'm just kidding. I am voluntarily here as I am mandated to state in my contract. Welcome, everyone. I really like snow. I am very much of the minority. This is a lot, though, even for snow lovers like myself. Today's a lot.
Well, it's not so bad now that we've made Victor do the snow shoveling. Anyway, we're not snowed in, but we're definitely not going anywhere because it's awful outside, so we might as well talk about Clone Wars and Buffy.
Yay, and let's start with Clone Troopers and then accidentally not do Buffy.
Wow, I've seen the episode now. I understand it. Well, we'll get to all of it, but I'm surprised you hate it this much, honestly. But we'll get to all that. Let's start off with Clone Wars. Here we go.
Season 3, Episode 2, ARC Troopers. Fighting a war tests a soldier's skills. Defending this home tests a soldier's heart. Which prediction? They're gonna be ARC Troopers or in trooper training and they have to defend their planet, but I looked. Didn't they do this already? Wasn't there a strike on Kamino? I swear I remember this. I actually carefully did some research because I was really confused about the timeline here. And I managed to find a perfect list. It's a chronological order of every single episode. And yes, there is very screwy timelines going on here. Yeah, but I swear they did this before. So I'm confused for a lot of the beginning of this.
I've very much lost track because so many video games have, like Battlefront 2, have Kamino battle levels, so it's all just a big blur in my head. What blows my mind is that, how does anyone even know where Kamino is? Like, it's supposed to be this big secret. I mean, they scrubbed it from the Jedi archives, which is supposed to be impossible to do, but apparently everyone knows where Kamino is.
It's just, there it is, it's on the map. Recap. Rishi Moon Outpost destroyed, which we've seen. That was back in season 1, I believe.
They should have been a little more clear with that flashback. that Lauren's voice. Remember, way back in season 1, we covered this.
Yeah, but this happened after the last episode.
He's like, you caught up? Good. We're like, wait, hold on.
One more time. But it doesn't matter about the timeline, because we got General Grievous, baby! Yes, I wrote that. And Ventress. I'm feeling spoiled. I'm a little scared, because this is off to a really good start. And I'm just like, I really like all these characters.
There's been a lot of buzz online about Ventress being live cast for something, and fans really want, I don't know if you're familiar with her, Anna Taylor-Joy, they really want her to play Ventress. There's a lot of rumors about it. I don't know if anything's actually real, though.
That'd be cool. I don't know who that is, but if everybody thinks that she's perfect for it, then sign me up.
She's been in a ton of stuff. You'd recognize her if you saw her. She's just one of these new, young up-and-comers.
There seems to be an attack on Kamino, and I swear again. And Beavis and Kenobi and Skywalker, who is looking gloomy as ever, are in a Jedi cruiser with Boba Cody and Bobasaurus Rex, intercepting a transmission from General Grievous. It's literally just a cut-in of a phone call between Ventress and General Ganja, who is cranky and needs a trip to the Hotbox Hotel. The man is clearly out of weed. He's not punching any heads off this episode. I kept a head punch count, and I was shocked that it remained 0, but he's taking quite the chance, even considering an attack on Kamino, and this is where I'm like, okay, I have to look this up, because I don't have a lot of knowledge of the Star Wars world, so for me to be this sure that we've seen this before, I had to look it up. And it's just, I think they mention it in earlier episodes that happen after this, and I think that's where I got it from, because I remember them talking about this. The commanders, Cody and Rex are both taking the attack on their homeworld personally and are heading straight over there. And Kenobi and Skywalker are on board. If not because they're friends, it's because this is their troops.
It's very surprising to me that the clones have an emotional attachment to Kamino as home. I mean, I get it, but it's like looking at it from one end of it, like they're supposed to be these soldiers that just do their job and don't get emotionally involved or anything. So I don't know. It just struck me weird that the clones feel like they have to go and defend their home, like they have any kind of emotional. You think that would have been like, I don't know, programmed out of them or something?
Honestly, I think it was programmed into them so that Kamino could secretly have their own force and they won't turn on them and rebel because they're
Yeah, but they're supposed to follow orders, so if they were ordered to defend Kamino, they would do it with just as much zeal, you know what I mean? My theory is that it's the Mandalorian in them, it's the Django coming through saying, like nothing to what, defend their home like Mandalorians, tough commandos. I think that's just coming through.
with their whole thing about, bond of brotherhood and stuff, that would definitely track. Because it's not just the Caminos that they're defending, it's all of their brothers that they're defending on
Yeah,
the
I would take the brother, but like that could be anywhere, like if the band of brothers were pinned down somewhere, they'd fight just as hard. But anyway, just curious that they'd be so emotionally attached to Kamino. Anyway.
Grievous is trying to claim all that credit, and Lady V is like, I'll remind you that Count Dooku set us both up to this. So they're kind of sparring and stuff, and that goes throughout this episode, and I would totally watch episodes just of their rivalry, like, in the Home Alone style where they're just pranking each other the whole time. I would be down for that. When the transmission ends, it cuts to Ventress's side of it, and she's barking to a B1 droid, which I call Bingo Droid, so this is Harry. We'll find Marv in a little bit. We zoom out from Lady V's emo music video where she's standing in front of the water, the window, and it turns out they're underwater in a squid ship.
Yeah, very Nautilus vibes.
Yeah, very like I was like, how are they not just blasting back and forth when the squid is moving through the water? But whatever. They're already approaching the city. They're already there. As they're approaching the city, the Jedi cruiser is moving in to the Kamino city from above. And this is where Kenobi and Skywalker are, and they're created by Shocky. They're greeted by Shocky. I don't remember if that's what I called her, but I just went with it.
Shaq T for the following at home.
Shocky it is. And also a head Kamino who is really has all of his faith in the Republic blockade, being like, it is too strong, they would never pass. But this is, if it was an Orville episode or any sort of like Family Guy-esque thing, it would cut to like the squid ship just going like gloop, gloop, gloop underneath, because obviously they got through. In a room that looks like the DNA clone room? I don't know what this is. It's like the clone room barracks. You can see all the little like pods in the back with like growing clones. The clone greenhouse. Fives and Echo are back on Kamino, and clearly some time has passed. They're not full ARC troopers yet, but I think they've completed their training, or they're taking a break from training to go help Kamino. I'm assuming
Yeah, I
that's
think
what
at this
that
point
is.
they're part of the 501st.
Mm. They passed by a squadron of kids, and I had to stop because I was like, wait, is this the same? I have to check the timeline again. Is this the same squadron that we see later on? Because one of them is given a full-on glare, and a lot of the hairstyles look the same.
Yeah, I saw. First thing I thought of too was Boba. I look at the scowl on that kid. Is that Fett?
It was the scowl. It wasn't even the hair.
It's the genetics.
Yep. Fives and Echo immediately spot 99, and he remembers both of them, which Fives is surprised by. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
that he would remember each individual clones, but it's like a teacher that remembers everybody kind of thing, right?
exactly. When everybody looks like you. Fives tell 99 that on Rishi Moon they lost Heavy, because I kind of forgot what happened in that episode. I didn't think to go
It's
back
been a
and read
while,
the
yeah.
synopsis. Yeah, and he sacrificed himself for his brothers, and then I forget that that's when 99 had his medal, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm done. Five goes on to tell 99 about the impending attack, and 99's like, sign me up. In space, there are rows of Jedi cruisers waiting for the cannabis crews to dock on their Kamino stop. Grievous barks out orders to the middle management droid, and I was really afraid that we were going to see more of this guy. I was very happy I was wrong.
Yeah, we got off easy.
I hate that guy. We cut to the Jedi cruiser, and it's the Admiral. Cleese. We're just going to go with Cleese. I think it's like Yule or something like that.
Wolf Yularen.
Thanks. I'll remember that in season 7. R2D2 and Skywalker jump into a fighter space jet thing. Yep, that's what I wrote. And head off to join the fight. On Kamino, Shocky is still not buying what's going on here. She's like, something's off. And she's looking concerned. She's smelling the fart. In Friends, Joey Tribbiani gets taught a technique when he can't remember a line, so he looks like he's thinking really hard about something, and it's called smell the fart acting. So while she's smelling the wafting, in space, a clone trooper is greeting Skywalker, and they're just kind of going back and forth while Shocky's starting to put together pieces, and Kenobi's starting to catch on too, so he's going to go for a swim. The debris that fell from the cannabis cruise was actually covert ship parts built together for a larger tack ship, which is, I thought,
this
cool.
whole thing bothered me a little. One, how did the Nautilus squid ships get onto the planet? Because they would have had to be dropped down from orbit somehow. So where's the sensors and the blockade on that? And then the whole plan is to drop debris down and then put it together like Lego. Like, this seems like a really roundabout way to do a siege. You know, I don't know. It's weird.
You know who thinks up this shit? High quasi-robots. Like Grievous. He is in his hotbox hotel and he just takes a rip on the bong and goes, hey guys, wouldn't it be great if we just threw the ship pieces into the ocean and made them look like garbage and then weld them together with aqua droids underneath? Also, we need to design aqua droids. I'd never seen these guys before.
Yeah, they were new. But see, the thing is, Grievous is a cyborg. He's not a droid. He looks like a droid, but he's like a Kalish warlord. Like he's organic, and that's why he coughs all the time. But it's like, this is the best plan you could come up with.
General Ganja would agree that yes, this is the best plan he could come up with.
Hit Spong. You know what we should do?
It's a half-baked plan. The Phobri, as I come to call it, falls into the ocean, and Skywalker is gonna go all in, and Kenobi's like, no, let me go for a swim. Let's check this. And we get to see some Kamina rays, which are really cute. Little manta ray Kamina things. Skywalker is making fun of Kenobi just as Kenobi's like, hold up, I see exactly what I was looking for. And as he says, I told you so, his transmission gets cut, and aqua droids descend upon him, and he has to swim to the surface and catch a ride with a Kamina ray on his way up.
This is another thing that bothered me in this, is in episode 1, him and Qui-Gon swam down to Jar Jar City, and they had oxygen rebreathers as part of their standard kit. Why doesn't he have one now, especially in a wartime situation? Like, where's your rebreather, Kenobi?
He probably had to give it to Skywalker, who lost his. Back on the planet, Echo and Fives are being told to report to sniper positions on the bridge. That sounds like that'll end well for them. Squid ships are like climbing up onto the Kamino buildings and infiltrating them with little drills and dropping off super droids. General Ganja is on board and he's looking for the nearest weed outpost, and he orders the droids who are actively killing clones to keep killing clones. I come back to this later. There's more footage of the destruction. 99 is running around in mid-fire with a horseshoe up his ass because he's not getting shot by anything, and he's handing out weapons to his brothers. Ends up killing one because he's so distracted trying to cover for 99, he ends up getting shot. Kenobi and Skywalker are fighting super droids when Kenobi's like, no, go to the DNA chamber. Skywalker heads that way. He doesn't mock him this time, which is nice. Fives and Echo, we see how they're doing up on the bridge with dozens of super droids. And 99, still with that horseshoe, walks up to them and is trying to figure out a better place to defend. All these droids come up behind them. 99 just happens to have a bag of grenades. That's helpful.
Planned ahead.
Yep. There is a young squadron from before, which this time it looks like the same cadets, but this one isn't giving me Boba vibes. The wavy one isn't giving me Boba vibes this time. Grievous is in a hallway, again reminding bingo droids to keep firing. and, and it made me stop and think, is their memory that bad that he has to keep reminding them, or else they go, wow, what are we doing again?
Keep firing, assholes.
1, 2, 3. Keep firing. He just has a timer for when their memory's going to run out. One trooper is left against all the droids, and as he goes to take him out, he's force choked by Lady V, and then gets impaled on the saber by, like, she draws him onto her saber. Vicious. Lady V stands for vicious. And I remember I had, like, a long theory before that she doesn't kill unnecessarily, and I think this still fits into that because her whole mission here is to decimate the Republic forces, which would include this gentleman.
Yeah, he was wearing the markings of like an ARC trooper, so she probably, like, this ain't some shiny. She knew she had to take him out.
Yeah. But what was unnecessary, because I paused as they impaled, I was just like, oh man, so badass. And then I hit unpause, and then she like kisses the clone trooper, she drops him, and I'm like, nope, that's unnecessary. Yeah. I was like, it's not Kenobi, calm down. And Grievous is like, oh, well, hey, you might actually be a match for me. And she's just like, you're not even an actual Force user, like, push off. And this is where I loved this rivalry.
Yeah, her talking down to him was pretty funny.
Yeah, I liked that. In a twist, Grievous doesn't want Lady V to destroy the clone DNA. She needs to get a sample of it, because I think he wants to, like, experiment with human, like, more kind of like himself, where you said he's a human, like, he's a whatever he is, organic droid hybrid. I think that he wants to do the same thing, so cue the Cylons. 99 has led the young team back to the barracks. As they contemplate what to do, Cody and Rex pop in with a "we fight," which is convenient because there's an armory down the hallway and they're going to go grab weapons. Super droids, who they made it to what looks like the Kamino command center. Shocky lets loose. She takes out the whole group in like 5 seconds flat. Why is she sitting back?
She's a very powerful Jedi, yeah.
Yeah. She actually makes it look easier than Skywalker or Kenobi, which makes me think they're not flexing their Force muscles near enough. Especially we know what Skywalker can do. She's
the same race as Ahsoka. She's a Togruta, just with different markings, and she's older.
Yeah, but she's great. I like her. In the DNA room, Lady V extracts the sample, and I'm like, Annie, where are you at, man? Like, what are you doing? You stopping to go to the bathroom on the way there?
Am I the only one worried that the DNA room was just going to be a chair for Django and a Playboy or something? Like,
just a stack of sticky magazines.
Oh, God. I'm sorry, everyone.
Man, I can't see any of these Twi'lek pages together.
You guys fucking Tamir Morrison sitting there. I'm done with this copy and play Twi'lek. Get me another. Yeah, again, I'm sorry. I'll just chill myself
out. Anyways, in saunters Annie, who took his sweet time. He took a long time. I mean, I don't know how big this place is, but he took a long time to get there. I'm assuming that Lady V strategically, like, landed closer to the DNA room than he did.
When you think about it, this is Typoca City, the capital, and you see how big these installations are. So, I don't know, imagine you're here in Eastern Passage and you had to, like, run to downtown Dartmouth. Like, unless there's a tram system, it's probably going to take you a bit.
Oh, right, yeah, because we had this conversation when they had, like, the internal highway in that big, huge ship that was, like, 5 miles long or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. General Grievous with a squad of bingo droids. We found Marv. He's knocking politely on the doors going, open up, please. It killed me. He's like, hello. Knock, knock. I love these guys. They decide to blast the door open to scare more clones, but uno reverso, there's 5 clones waiting at the entrance to blast them all away. Grievous is like, ooh, this is so easy pickings. And Kenobi's like, hold my beer. And this is when I actually noticed Grievous's feet for the first time. Like, there was a really good shot of his whole body, and I was like, huh, too many toes. Ew, get away. Soon as he started opening up the lightsabers, I'm like, "I'm gonna get a saber copter." It's like my birthday right now. We go back and forth between the DNA chamber, the barracks, and saber copter fights. So the most notable moments I have are Grievous takes another free hand to grab Kenobi by the face. Kenobi forces him to retreat and he scuttles away like a crab.
I hate when he does that.
Ugh. The troopers are still defending the barracks, but the younger ones are like hiding above in the pods to shoot the droids from above, which I thought was really cool. We get full saber copter, and I thought he was going to levitate there for a minute.
Oh God! I mean, it's gonna be a while till we get to that, but hold that thought. And it's Christ, I don't think he's a fan of it either. But that sabercopter thing does come up again in Rebels, actually, and it's
I love saber copter, even though this is technically only half copter because he could.
It's cool until they actually fly with it, and then you're just like, oh God. Yeah, that's gonna happen. There's a spoiler for you. You're gonna see that.
I'm not ready for the nightmare crab to also fly like a helicopter. The music slows as 99 is heading for more grenades. He gets shot in the leg heading back to the armory, and then 2 in the back, and it takes him longer to go down than it did for the armored clone troopers in the rest of this episode.
Yeah.
I know it was for the plot, but my God, they should study this man's DNA because clearly he's got some pain deflectors built into him. Shockey reports that the droids have been forced back to the main hangar while Kenobi and Grievous have their fight interrupted by a squid ship. Kenobi looks like he falls into the ocean and Grievous is like, "Yeah," and then, sorry, that was Skeletor, flies off. Kenobi pops up with his new pet Kamino Ray, and I want a little side clip of him trying to convince Yoda to allow him to have his new pet.
Kenobi must have it must be a force affinity thing, but I was like, this is awfully convenient that this particular manta ray keeps saving him. Like, what's going on there?
Yeah. We have boomer troopers, which at first I was like, really? We're calling them boomer troopers? And then I realized I would be mad if they were called anything else. Take out one of the squid ships, and then we have Ventress and Skywalker fighting over the DNA capsule, but it's caught in midair by one of the ARC troopers. I believe this is an ARC trooper, or is this just a regular
I
clone?
noticed the guy that caught it. I think he might have just been a regular shiny, which was even more impressive. He was just a regular grunt. In any event, whoever caught it was like, that's a nice catch.
Yeah, so Lady V is surrounded. She force pushes back everyone. I do notice it works less on Skywalker than it does everyone else, and jumps effortlessly into Grievous's pod back to the cannabis cruise.
Jumped into Grievous's space ball.
Just the one. For the rest of them, watch the movie. Over in the barracks, we take a minute to mourn 99. And later on the main port, Commanders Rex and Cody commend Fives and Echo on their performance and officially make them ARC troopers.
That's nice and all, but they didn't really do that much this episode. They showed up.
Yeah. They just were there.
They should have gotten a couple more minutes of glory in battle, then it would have made more sense. You know, I approve of the promotion, but it didn't seem like they had a lot of on-camera action time.
Timeline issues aside, I really liked this episode. It had a lot of cute little moments, and it spared us from Ventress and Kenobi flirting, which I was really worried about, not gonna lie. I'm sad about 99, but I get why he acted the way he did. He was finally able to help because it was on their home turf. But I wish he was smarter about it. It really shows that he didn't have the same training that these other clones did. They did write him off very early because he had all the loyalty and the dedication of his brothers, but he didn't have the training. So I felt like he made a lot of unnecessary mistakes, like running without any sort of cover, no tactical thought whatsoever. He was just beelining for the armory, and he made a lot of unnecessary risks.
He had the heart, but not the training.
Yes. They obviously managed fine without the extra grenades. So rest in peace, 99. We had an episode, another plus was that it was light on the Skywalker snark, but we were missing Ahsoka.
So a few notes I made for this episode. One, was that when the debris came down and when the city was being attacked, it showed all the cloning racks being destroyed, and there was quite a lot of them being smashed up. And I'm like, those are the capsules with the babies in them. I'm like, this is infanticide on a mass level here. That was really brutal.
I thought they were walking platforms, I didn't realize it, but I guess I looked down at the wrong moment when I was making the
Yeah,
note.
it's in the movies, those great big discs with the little bulbs sticking. Those there's little babies in all of those. So like they just killed like, how who knows how many hundreds of little babies. And the thing that bothered me is the Republic and the Jedi. They aren't really defending the clones themselves as people or the Kamino. They're literally defending the war assets that they are, right? And they're defending. I think at one point they even say factory or manufacturer, something that implies that the clones aren't people; they're just fucking product. I like that 99 was shown to be a helpful guy. Like I said, I like the bit how Ventress was sparring and winning against Grievous. Django's DNA is being treated like a super valuable state secret. So apparently they saw how well it worked, and if you're going to make an army, Mandalorian DNA is what you want.
Mm.
And interesting throughout this entire series of Clone Wars is that Grievous and Anakin don't actually meet in person until the movie in Episode 3. So events like this, they always had to be careful that they don't actually come across each other. So they pair up Anakin and Ventress, and Grievous and Kenobi meet a number of times. But yeah, because of that one line in Episode 3, Anakin says, like, I thought you'd be taller or whatever like that. So they always have to weave them around each other, but they never actually meet.
That's really cool, yeah.
Yeah, something that writer, it must have been one of those golden writer rules just because, that one line.
That big sticky note on the top of the writer's board being like, "They can't meet."
Because if they do, the fans would have been all over it. They would have been like, hold on. Wouldn't have made sense. And, fans hate that shit. At one point, Grievous says the line, all too easy, which is a famous Vader quote from Empire Strikes Back when he's fighting Luke. Although Anakin wasn't present to actually pick that line up from Grievous, so it's just a little Easter egg. And my last note was as Kenobi's fighting on the landing platform. I'm like, we must have been thinking the last time he was on a rainy landing platform was when Django was kicking his ass.
Yeah, he's having Nom flashbacks.
So my summary is I like this one too. It's more about the clones and the Jedi, and it was a big battle episode. Had a little space, had all kinds of different environments to do the fight on the platforms, and the crazy big siege weapons and Jedi fights and shootout. So yeah, it was a big battle episode about the clones, so I liked it.
I just realized something. Where the heck did R2 go? Obviously, he wouldn't just sit in the ship. Like, if Skywalker looked at him and was like, you stay here, the first thing he'd do would be like, "Nyerp," and just get out and start messing up things.
I would buy that he's somewhere finding out completely aside that like the fucking city stabilizers are about to go and the whole thing's about to fall into the ocean, and then he fixes it and saves the whole day and nobody ever knows. That would be a very R2 thing to do. And then he gets back and they're like, where the hell have you been? And he's like, you motherfuckers.
You've no idea. If you only knew what I did for you guys. On a more of a meta note, I kind of wish we were recording this in the reverse order so that we could end on a high note, because this episode definitely leaves me with better feels than the next one.
I'm one of my notes at the top here. The opening quote for this was, fighting a war tests a soldier's skill, defending his home tests a soldier's heart. And I'm like, yeah, just ask Ukraine.
Yeah. Really, though.
All right, time to move on to Buffy Season 3, Episode 2, titled Dead Man's Party. My prediction was a vampire is going to have a party, and Buffy will somehow get back into high school. But beyond that, I didn't have much of a prediction. Now, you seem to have been dreading this episode, and having seen it, I could see a number of reasons why, but I'll be curious to hear specifically why you hated it. So let's jump right in. All right, so Buffy's settling back in at home. It was a very funny moment at the start. Joyce is putting up a scary, angry Nigerian death mask on the wall, and she accidentally hammers a hole right into the wall. I don't know, I just thought that was funny.
I noticed it was a really long recap. I'm watching the version that has like the digital, the Paramount version, so it's like has the recap on it. It was a really long recap. Like it was like previously on the last 2 seasons.
So Buffy says she's going to go find Willow and Xander, and Joyce says, will you be slain? And she says, like, only if they give me lip.
Joyce, I also respect her casual theft from her work. She's like, oh, we got a new shipment in at the museum or whatever, so, stealing work at the galley, so she's, like, stealing artwork to just decorate her room.
I didn't realize that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she's stealing, so we're like, "Joyce, what is going on here?
You're going to
What
go
are
to
you
jail if you
doing?"
keep this up.
Yeah, she's decorating her room, putting holes in her walls.
People in the museum are going to come over and be like, hide all that shit.
Yeah.
So Buffy seems to almost be asking if it's okay to go out. It seems like Joyce is feeding her to death and offering drives, but ultimately she says, yeah, you can go see your friends. So Buffy's wandering the lovely back alleys of Sunnydale, as one does, and she comes across a mysterious guy in a high-collared, gothic-looking coat, and it's just Xander. He's wearing a hilariously oversized cross. And as they're reuniting, of course, the vampire bursts out from a wall and attacks. And Cordelia, over the walkie-talkie, reveals Xander's codename is Nighthawk.
Makes me wonder what everybody else's is, because you never find out anybody else's.
I would love to have found that. I was hoping. So Willow, Oz, and Cordelia jump in, and the vampire gets taken out. Hi, guys. Whether the group success rate is 50-50 or not, they're out there doing the work, and they seem to be getting pretty good at it. They even Cordelia, like they're in the fight. They jump right in, no hesitation.
Yeah. It was also a really long intro scene. Like, that was almost 5 minutes as well.
The reassembled group heads over to Giles's house. They hesitate a bit outside. Xander does some babbling. And Buffy says she went to see her mom first, of course. And Giles, how did you find her? Buffy, well, I remembered the address. And I'm like, come on, man. She's quick. She's very quick. So we discover Buffy's no longer wanted for murder. So her name has been cleared. So that's a nice little tidbit that got cleared up.
I forgot that she was actually wanted for murder, as well as on top of being expelled and kicked out of her house. So I guess the list of priorities
ended in quite a mess.
Yeah.
While making tea in the other room, Giles he's clearly relieved Buffy's back. Now Buffy seems willing to get back into a regular schedule of school and slaying. Joyce says she's going to go see Principal Snyder. And he, of course, he's not at all willing to let her back in, despite all charges being cleared. He says how he's got tingly feelings about... No, he seems to be like overstepping his authority here, but he's sticking to his guns.
Sorry, I can't believe he's talking to a parent this way about their child with their child in the room.
Well, he's a dick. But even so, he says that she's destructive with a bad GPA, and Joyce promises that this isn't over and she'll go all the way to the mirror, and he's like, good luck with that. Joyce even goes so far as to suggest private school. Buffy suggests homeschooling, which is not just for creepy religious people anymore. And Buffy goes to meet Willow, but it looks like she got stood up. So she goes home and she bumps into a lady coming out of the house, Pat, who's in it is Pat, I think, who's in a book club with her mom. And you just made a face.
Ooh, effing Pat. Ooh. She's raged number 2 reason. She's number 2 reason to rage. Number 1, I have multiple moments throughout here, but the first one is Willow ghosting Buffy. The second one is just this woman.
All right, so Willow did call, Joyce says, but she got held up. Didn't say why, just that she got held up. Joyce suggests inviting everyone over for dinner tomorrow and to bust out the company plates. And Buffy says the gang are normal plate people. And Joyce says, indulge me. So Buffy goes into the basement to look for the plates, and she finds a framed photo of her, Willow, and Xander, and sad music plays. And I'm like, is Buffy's being left behind here? Like, her friends are moved on, basically doing her responsibilities. Without her, it's almost like they need her, but it feels to her like they don't need her. And then a dead cat falls on her head, and they bury it in the backyard. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a twist. So Buffy goes to bed. She's pretty bummed and alone. And at night, Joyce's scary mask on the wall the eyes start to glow red. And then the cat does some Pet Cemetery shit and claws its way out of the garden. I'm like, all right, here we go. So Buffy's wandering in an empty school. I'm assuming it's a dream sequence because, yep, there's Angel in the daytime again. And she says she's afraid. And Angel gives her the Yoda, you should be.
There was a sign behind her on the board that shows that Principal Quark is clearly on the school morale committee team, because it's literally just school spirit in capital letters over and over again on the same paper.
I keep forgetting to look at the signs in the background at the school because there's always something there. I got to remember to look for those. So Joyce has been on with the superintendent of schools, and he seems more reasonable than that nasty little bigoted rodent man, I think it was.
Yeah.
An all-girl private school might be possible too, and Buffy's not too thrilled about that. So Joyce actually floats the idea of telling Snyder and the cops about what she is, how they might be thankful to have basically a superhero on the team. I'm like, bold strategy. Is superhero the right term, she asks. Then she opens the door and the zombie cat barges in.
It's like, Peter, time to be fed. The time you went missing. He's like, by the way, it's time to feed me. Jerk.
So Giles comes over with a raccoon cage or something. He deals with it, and he's going to take it to the library to determine its origins. And he notes the Nigerian mask, and Joyce says, oh, she is a dealer for such things. And I'm like, we should probably look into whoever that is.
Do they know that it is probably stolen? Like, what is going on here?
Buffy can't go with Giles as she's not allowed on school property. The gang is checking out the zombie cat at the library. Oz actually likes it. I'm thinking he probably wants to eat it on some level. The dinner is tonight at Buffy's, and Cordelia says, I'm the dip. The onion dip.
All the cracks about this being Giles's cat in this scene carried this scene for me. It was so good, because otherwise we would just have to focus on the fact that Willow's avoiding problems, and I really hope she grows out of that. And Cordelia votes twice. She's so important, she actually puts up her hand twice.
So they debate the nature of the dinner party. Is this a gathering, a shindig, a hootenanny? Should we bring the band? And Giles is turning the pages in his book, and the Nigerian mask is right there and doesn't notice. I'm like, nice researching, Watcher. So at Buffy's house, Book Club Pat shows up, and Buffy's face says it all. Great. And then the fucking band does indeed set up, and like 40 people show up, and suddenly we're in the middle of a 90s teen movie party.
Did you notice that Pat is like, hi, how are you doing, person I barely know? Hope you're not thinking about running off anymore, I hope. And I'm like, get the frig out of here, you friggin' frig. Like, just get it. But Buffy's mom and screaming in her face was really nice. I did enjoy that moment.
I was trying to come up with a Postman Pat line, like, Book Club Pat, get the fuck out of here and take the dead cat.
It's obvious that they never told Joyce or Buffy about these plans. They never told them to change in plans.
No.
Last they heard, it was going to be a dinner party, and they're all dressed up and ready for a dinner party, and she's got her Spanish food, that friggin' frig, and then they're like, oh, by the way, the band's showing up. And anyways.
Yeah, no one's listening to that, not even Willow. Not that anyone asked Buffy. Buffy asks if she's avoiding her. And Willow says everything is way cool, very 90s, but she still seems a touch dismissive. The mask's eyes continue to glow red. Somewhere else at a crime scene where some guy in a suit apparently got shot in the head, he gets back up. And he's like, okay, let's see what's happening here.
I just have to say, that, just going back a second, that was the moment that Willow should have said something. I'll return to that later, but that's the moment.
Xander and Cordelia are making out in the middle of the room. Like, give it a rest, you just go to the back room or something, Jesus. She says the Nighthawk look was doing it for her. So we cut over quickly to a hospital where a burn victim dies, and then he gets back up and attacks the staff. The random guy at the party says I heard this party was some chick that just got out of rehab, and then he looks like he takes a big haul off a spliff.
Where I believe he got this from Joyce.
Maybe. So Joyce and Pat are drinking in the kitchen, and at this point I don't know if Pat is some evil monster, but I don't trust her at all. Buffy overhears Joyce saying having Buffy back isn't all she thought it would be, and then Buffy gets, she's just feeling really alone. She goes upstairs and starts packing, getting all emo about it. She's getting ready to leave again.
I don't even know what Joyce could possibly mean by this. She's like, I thought it was going to make it all better, but in some ways it's almost worse. And it's not like Buffy even split the moment that she heard that sentence. She stuck around for a second, and Joyce didn't offer any context as a follow-up, and I refuse to think that Joyce just said that.
It was a weird thing to say. It was a weird line.
It didn't really make any sense, but the fact that everybody's just kind of ignoring her and everybody's lying to her that they're all fine and stuff, I'm gonna have to start standing soon.
So a veritable army of the raised dead is now marching towards Buffy's party, and I can see my prediction wasn't too accurate, but there is a party. Giles discovers something disturbing. He finally sees the picture of the mask in his book, so he tries to call, and I'm like, yeah, good luck hearing a phone in the middle of a 90s rager. But some rando does answer it. Bunny? Is there a buddy here? Again, he calls him Mr. Belvedere and hangs up. And if you know who Mr. Belvedere is, you might be Gen X.
I have a reason to rage number 7. We skipped over a bunch of them, but Buffy's decision to leave again. I give it a soft reason, though, because I don't agree with it because it won't solve anything, and it's a little childish to run, so I will call Buffy out for that. However, she's 17. Look at what she went through, and I do understand why she's resorting to this. No one seems truly happy that she's home, even her own mother. Her friends are avoiding her. She can't go back to school. She killed her boyfriend. So everything that proceeds from here, besides a little moment from Joyce, is absolute horse. And yep. Anyway.
So Willow catches Buffy packing, and there's still clearly some static and resentment between them from the last few months. And while Buffy's dealing with her shit, she failed to see all that Willow's been going through with the slaying and dating a werewolf and studying witchcraft. I'm going to come back to that point a little bit later. So Giles is driving over frantically, muttering to himself, "Do you like my mask? It raises the dead, Americans." There's no real reason for him to blame Americans there. He just does. And then he fucking runs some guy over, but don't worry because he's clearly already dead, and it's a total Night of the Living Dead situation here. And then Joyce comes into the bedroom, sees the packed bag, and she's pretty pissed off. And Buffy's all upset and goes to leave. And Joyce just reams Buffy out in front of everybody at the party. And of course, that's when the music decided to stop. And also, Joyce has had schnapps, so watch out. A couple people trickle out the door. Xander jumps in, and Buffy's like, "Anyone else want to weigh in? How about you, dip guy?" And he's like, "No thanks, I'm good." And I'm like, was that Jonathan? Was that Jonathan over there?
It was Jonathan, yeah.
Okay. That was.
Yeah.
Xander says, "You can't just bury stuff, Buffy. It'll come right back up to get you." And immediately switch scene to the undead in the streets, and Giles fighting for his life as the zombies corner him in his Citroen. It is a Citroen, right? Yeah. Okay, I finally got it right. Mm-hmm. And his keys are on the pavement, so he hotwires his own car, and then he's muttering away and all pissed off as he drives off. Cordelia, in her own way, tries to empathize with Buffy, but it usually gets lost in translation, although her heart's usually in the right place. Oz does try to intervene in the big, verbal fight in the living room, but Willow's like, "Nah, let them fight. Talking's not working. Might as well try some violence." Now, cue zombies through the window at that particular moment. There was one who busted through the kitchen back door window, and he just sort of planked through and just sort of like seesawed in onto the floor, and he's like, "Hang on one sec." Thought of Home Alone for some reason. So a fight breaks out. It's total chaos, and Joyce is like, "Are these vampires?" So Buffy tries to stake one. Nope, definitely not vampires. So a zombie grabs Book Club Pat. The gang retreats upstairs. There's zombies busting in all over the place. So Pat is dead, but Go-Go Gadget Deathmask. Pat opens her eyes, and now she's in the room with him. Oz and Cordelia are hiding in the closet, and they come out armed with ski poles. Giles arrives, but how do you know it's him? "Oh, Cordelia, stop being tiresome. It's him." So Oz actually says the name of the episode, Dead Man's Party, has moved upstairs. So Giles says if one of the zombies puts the mask on, it will become a demon incarnate. So Book Club Pat does exactly that. Another rhyme. Sorry, didn't mean that one. All right, so the mask has some kind, if you look at the eyes, it's like a Medusa power. Like is a flashing paralysis power. So let's, like, well, I almost called her Postman Pat. Book Club Pat gets the drop on Buffy.
Buffy's defense, "I'm not looking at you," which is something that you should know well because you deploy it whenever I'm punning. "I'm not looking at you. I'm not looking at you."
Yeah, or like the Castlevania, "I'm not looking at you, Sypha." So Pat backhands Buffy clear across the room. Buffy tackles Pat clear through the window, and everyone's fighting zombies.
Joyce is just wailing on this zombie.
Yeah, he's getting in on this one. So outside of the lawn, Buffy grabs a shovel and puts it into Pat's face, like fucking horizontally into her face. Like she sort of like shoved it, and so you didn't really see it on camera, but then they did show it, and I was like, holy fuck. You know, this would have been a perfect moment for her to say, dig this. And then.
But
So the mask is destroyed, is defeated, and all the zombies just disappear nice and neat. I'm like, oh, that's plot convenience right there. I do have another point about that I'm going to get to in a minute. Buffy and Willow hug, so they're sort of back to normal. So later on, Giles goes to see Snyder to speak on Buffy's behalf about getting her back in school, and he believes he can make Snyder's life difficult professionally. And he pretty much straight up threatens him and even grabs him. And this is one of Giles' rare scary moments where, you know, he plays this bumbling goofball all the time, but when he gets scary, it's like, holy shit.
would you like me to convince you? This is like
Quark was shit in his pants there.
Ripper is right there.
Yeah, I love it when that part of him comes out. So in the aftermath, Buffy and Willow are sitting at a cafe, and Willow talks about some of the witchcraft stuff she's been doing, and she outlines the details of some of the things she's been doing. So clearly she spent her summer leveling up her magic powers, which is sort of like an off-camera way to advance that stuff. And the episode ends with them trading insults, but in that friend kind of way, so they're cool with each other again. But Willow makes a point, like saying, you know, like, well, you've had a lot going on, but so have I, you know, and they sort of reconnect on that. Okay, so summary. Very silly episode. All the plot stuff with the zombies, especially their disappearing, was like way too plot convenient. If they'd actually had to deal with all the bodies, it would have been a touch more realistic. But so it made it feel a little rushed. Of course, Buffy was she's being a little dramatic and whiny in this one, but you know, that's teenagers for you. No one understands me. And aside from the demon and vampire stuff, find me a teenager that didn't go through some form of heartbreak that was the end of the fucking world for them. I mean, obviously Buffy's got some literal end of the world stuff, but everyone's been through, you know, angsty teenage shit where no one understands. I did like how everyone sort of had enough of her shit and called her on it, though. That's a real.
You and I have very different takes on this episode.
That's what makes it interesting.
Yep.
So I give this episode 2 onion dips out of 5. Here's hoping that cat disappeared too.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming we're going to see Buffy back at school pretty soon, or Giles is going to choke the shit out of Snyder some more.
Headlocks him into signing the paperwork.
So you really hate this episode.
Yep. Because there's a lot of good moments, but I feel like everybody's just kind of avoiding the situation. Everyone is. Like, everybody's guilty of that. Nobody gets out of this without some guilt on them, for sure. Again, like I said earlier, Buffy running, like deciding to run away again. That's not mature. Again, she's kind of an a-hole for it. Joyce's anger in the bedroom, in the private conversation that they were having, I feel was very justified. But nothing about what Willow said was justified. Willow gets a small saving grace because she came into the room to talk to Buffy. It's clear that she came in second guessing the fact that she said, oh, we're fine, we're aces, like everything before. But then she immediately turns it around on her, like, how could you do this to me? How is this my fault? And it's like, how can Buffy actually have that conversation with you when you're avoiding her? And it's very true. When Buffy brings that up, it's like, boom, you exactly had that opportunity less than 10 minutes ago. And then she goes, well, what about my problems? Let's compare them, shall we? I made a chart. Sent it to you for your pleasure. It's in the little crew lounge chat here. Willow's problems are dating a werewolf. Buffy sent her boyfriend to hell. Willow is studying witchcraft. Buffy can't study anything because she got expelled from school after avoiding murder charges. Willow is killing vampires voluntarily, whereas Buffy, it's actually her calling, and it's the revelation that got her kicked out of her own house. Let's talk about this for a second. Willow is seriously trying to say that her own stuff is more important than anything that happened with Buffy. On the scale, girl, grade, like, it's a curve, okay? This level of victim blaming of, like, you did this to me, and you did this is how I feel. Nobody is stopping to ask Buffy anything. There was one person that was like, hey, so what did you do this summer? Not why did you leave? Nobody has yet asked her on screen that we can see, why did you leave? No one. Nobody wants to talk about it. And when Joyce takes the argument and now it's in a public thing instead of, "Hey, let's go back upstairs and talk about this." She's gonna call it out in front of people who she knows Buffy has no idea who this is. Sh Buffy throws it in her face, and yes, I mean, immature, but you said, "If I leave this house, don't come back." Buffy just listened to you, Joyce. Yes, that was not a finest moment for you, but if you find out that it's confirmed that there's something weird going on with your daughter, and she says it's the end of the world and she's leaving, and she chooses to leave because you told her, "Choose me or the world," and she leaves, maybe just be like, "Okay, just come back and find me afterwards." I don't know. As a parent, I feel like Joyce really went with the nuclear option of saying, "Don't come back."
This was something I saw some of through various friends growing up too. This was some real boomer parent shit. Is that when they would have static with their rebellious Gen X teenager? I knew a guy in particular in high school. The parents told him like, "Don't fucking, if you go out that door, don't come back," and then he did, and then he didn't. And it's I've never agreed with it, and like I've been lucky enough to have some pretty cool parents. That no parent's perfect, but like no matter how bad of a day it was or whatever was happening, my dad in particular, he would always say, no matter what, you always have a home to come back to. And I got the cool pot smoking, hippie variant of parents in a way, but they're always cool with me like that. No matter how if I fucked up, but they never threatened to kick me out of the house. But I saw it all the time in high school, as people would butt heads with their parents, and they would get that fucking ultimatum, and I never agreed with it. So yeah.
The my way or the highway thing is a very old school way of parenting. It's very authoritarian, and I know that Joyce was, like, pushed to the limit in this moment because her daughter just had this huge revelation. She just got opened up to this whole world. But if your daughter is sitting in the room with a vampire who you hit in the back of the head with an axe about a half a season ago, maybe take a second to just sit back and be like, "Okay, maybe I don't know everything that's going on here," instead of assuming that the only important thing that Buffy has going on right now is that she sit down and have a coming out conversation with her mother.
Somehow in this episode, everybody was right and wrong at the same time.
Yeah. Xander was not right at all. Like, he did not to butt into that.
Yeah, he got involved. He insinuated himself into it.
Yeah, and Cordelia is the only one who I'm okay with in this scene. Oz, on the flip side, like, he does try to break it up and stuff. Willow and Xander are just full on victim blaming her. They're not handling this rationally, which they're also teenagers, so I've got to give them space for that. But Joyce, sure, she's probably on an edible and also on schnapps. They call her out. They call her out in the middle of a party that they threw to avoid her. They threw this party to avoid her, didn't tell her about it, and then basically spent all night being like, "Oh, hey, yeah, see, we're here, we like you, we're fine. Anyways, we're not actually gonna talk to you." Never giving her an opportunity to open up about anything, because you know what would have probably happened if Willow hadn't ghosted her at the espresso pump? She probably would have opened up about things. They probably would have had that conversation, but Willow was too busy avoiding the problems.
If they'd actually had the big family dinner, they all could have hashed it out and been fine. They all probably would have had a hug afterwards.
She could have broken the company plates, used them as frisbees at each other, solve it like a regular family.
That would have been funny. That would have been the worst thing to happen in the episode, is break the company plates.
Right? As soon as the zombies invade, though, you can see immediately they snap back to their old form. And they're all working as a unit again. They're all working together. They're taking orders from Buffy. They're not even realizing that they're doing it, but they come back together as a cohesive team. But what bothers me more than anything is that as soon as the zombies disappear, so does all their conflict. Suddenly they're okay. Suddenly everybody's fine.
Yeah, it struck me as weird too.
I hated it because everyone's getting off so easy in this episode because they said some very unnecessary, and I'm looking at Willow and Xander for this in particular, said some very hurtful and unnecessary things to Buffy and not giving her space for the fact that she had literally, like, I know that everybody has their own problems, but what was Xander's problems? Thinking that Cordelia went off and found another guy this summer?
All Xander's problems were coming from a completely selfish place. He's met, and he's still carrying a torch for Buffy. So like, her going away is somehow, how can you do that to me, right? Like,
and with the world being very woken up to the narcissistic style behaviors and the antics that they can get up with, the fact that Xander, the first words out of his mouth is that she is selfish and she is stupid. And I'm like, look in a mirror lately, my dude. I could go on. But remember, I gave you a challenge to find one of my top, even though this episode is one of my most hated episodes, contains one of my favorite quotes of all time. Did you spot it?
What was it?
You like my mask? Isn't it pretty? It raises the dead. Americans. I have actually posted that quote as one of, remember when there was that whole meme thing where it was like use 4 memes to describe you? It's like 4 different characters or memes
Oh,
to
okay.
describe you.
Yeah.
It was this exact quote that I used for Giles.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wouldn't have got it at all at the time, but now I would.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, no, I mean, I could go on about this episode, but we got most of the fun stuff in there.
All this episode did was give Joyce a huge mess to clean up and a big bill replacing the front door and all the windows.
Yeah, keep that thought in your head.
Good next episode, they're just gonna be all boarded up, aren't they?
Yep.
Well, so much for that. The funny thing is, I mean, all these other people that invaded as zombies, they sort of died through their own situations. But like Book Club Pat, she got fucking murdered on the front lawn. She ain't going home to her family. I mean, she probably lives alone, but she's like, she just disappears, I guess, and never heard from again.
Book Club Pat is gone like that.
Book Club Pat, don't you come back?
Yeah, please don't come back. My God, woman, no, absolutely, friggin' frig, get out of here. You just take your mask and half a face and just get the frig out of here.